Let me quit though. Yeah. Here goes Ramon again. Freestyle philosophizing from the acoustical bathroom. So making this recording after having watched Wakanda Forever. And, I wanted to come in here and talk a lot of Afrofuturism, ethnofuturism, ancestral futurism. But truth is that I wanted to like the movie more than I actually did. Yeah, what can I say? I mean, I feel like I was gonna talk exclusively about Wakanda Forever, but I feel like I gotta kind of roll it in with a bunch of other stuff in order to have some content that's worthwhile to say something about. But maybe I'll start with Wakanda. So when my wife and I first saw the preview and we saw the Azteca, Olmeca, Mesoamerican Namor interpretation, and we heard No Woman, No Cry, man, my wife started crying and I broke out into a sweat. And I just felt like they had such a powerful setup to really, like, I felt like it was new spirit politics. I felt like it was different futuristic nations, which are also ancient nations, and the seeds of which exist in present day nation. And the seed is something that can both come from the past and that can create a future. So the present day nations of Black people, of Latinx people, or the indigenous peoples of Mexico and the mestizo peoples, okay? We are seed peoples of these futures. You know what I'm saying? And we're seeds left over from past. And so I was really hoping to see like some dope new spheric politics go on and some real like envisioning of these, of Aztlan and, because they did a beautiful job envisioning Wakanda in the first one. And I thought there was a lot of cool visualizations and there were some cool elements to the movie, but overall it didn't hit really. It just didn't really hit for me. And, I think some of it is just Disney. It's like, yeah, the Thor movie didn't hit. Of course, the one before that was pretty bad too. But Black Widow was pretty good. I liked Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I thought Marvel doing a horror movie, they actually went there with it, and that was awesome. The Doctor Strange was dope. Killing the X-Men like that, they kind of went hard. And I feel like Black Panther didn't really, like, even in the battle scenes, like people were like ambiguously dead. They didn't really get, just like didn't really, like, they could have shown with blood and gore, but you got strike down, and it was kind of, even all that was ambiguous. I like the last battle between Namor and Shuri Black Panther. I like the battle with Namor and Okoye against each other, where he threw her into the spear. That was tight. I like Namor's movement around the air. He should have used his fists more and his hands and not the spear so much in every case. He didn't need to use the spear in all those cases. I thought the origin of Atlantis was pretty good. What they call it, I can't even say it. I'm sorry, y'all. I would need to see it again and hear it again. But man, the movie just didn't hit. I love Riri Williams' Ironheart in the comic book, but Ironheart didn't hit for me. The actress was okay. A lot of her lines fell flat for me. mostly the suit. The first suit made sense, but they should have made the suit look more like it looked in the comic book, and these big rockets in the back and the face. It just didn't work, you know. I like the Midnight Angel suits; those were dope. Um, Lupita's dope. She's always dope. When she put that water helmet on, jumped in the water, that thing formed around her. Sweet. That was awesome. Take it. Um, I thought it was kind of a cool twist at the end to be like, the revolutionary of Haiti is the king of Wakanda, and kind of link that symbolism, and you know the next nation of Wakanda is Haiti, right? That was cool. That's some new spirit politics. That was kind of similar to how in the first Black Panther they landed in Oakland, as if to suggest built the schools in Oakland, the Wakanda schools in Oakland. And that's a suggestion to Haiti. And then the allyship between Namor, or Atlan, that's what I'm gonna call it now. Atlan, Atlantis, and and Wakanda, that was dope. The allyship, because that's really what we're looking for, right? For the existing nations that are seeds of these future nations. That's what we're looking for. And I like, of course, I knew, I was like, Killmonger's going to be in it. And he's going to be in it. The only way he can show up is they're going to have to go to the ancestral plane, and they're going to meet Killmonger. And I thought the piece of Killmonger being like, look, like, you can't reject me, and you saved somebody from the lost tribe. And so she kind of like redeemed the fragment that was Killmonger, and kind of got him connected, you know what I'm saying? And like took on the part of Killmonger, which is, you got to take care of business. You got to do whatever it is you got to do. And that like rugged part that T'Challa didn't necessarily integrate. And it's almost like the whole royal family had to pay for the mistake. Like they all went down. They all went down except for Shuri. And it's kind of like the whole line had to start over again, And you see that theme a lot in a lot of these movies. I don't know if it's Disney, I don't know, but you saw it in Star Wars, which Star Wars, the first one of the new series with Rey, first one was good. The second one was pretty good. The third one was so bad that it almost made all the rest of them terrible too. And I feel like ultimately what's happening is that the storytelling just isn't really great. The storytelling is just under par. There's just like stuff happening in stories that it either falls flat, or they just kind of assume that and then things don't work, or like when Shuri pulled herself off the spear and there was no blood on the spear, and then the wound just healed up. I mean, I think Black Panther has healing factor, but he doesn't have healing factor like Deadpool. Like, you get a hole through you and it just seals up. Was that the suit? It just that part didn't hit. That didn't really make sense. That didn't. Her wound wasn't as serious as the, like she was all like, I was like, oh no, like we're in trouble. And then she just came off of it. And she didn't, that was too easy. I did like how she stood over Namor and then flashed between all the peoples, So I don't know, man. I just thought the execution wasn't great. Riri Williams' suit didn't hit. Riri Williams is it was a good start, but it's like, and frankly, I felt the same way about Shang-Chi. I really wanted to like it more than I did. I thought dude was a badass martial artist. I thought the martial arts scenes were dope. I thought his sister was dope. His friend, I could feel like I liked her. She had charisma, but her lines didn't fall for me. And then when they went to like the Shangri-La place at the end, I was just kind of like, I don't know, man. This was like a little bit too, I don't know. And I read some of Shang-Chi comics, and yeah, and then the 10 Rings, and like they told you that it was that it was from the Eternals. They implied that, but they didn't go anywhere with it. And that's the other thing that they lost out on Black Panthers. They didn't do what they did in the first phase, the first what 3 phases of Marvel, which is they didn't build the plot, man. They didn't link you from one movie to the next. They're not building a cohesive story. They're like, there's mutants, and they're kind of hinting that there's mutants, but they're not like, ooh, this is going to lead into that. They're not picking up any threads from Multiverse of Madness. They're not picking up any threads from Thor, which Thor was terrible, if I didn't already say that. They're just not picking up, and they're not even really picking up any threads from the shows, which the shows are actually pretty good. The TV shows are pretty good. The only problem I've had with the TV shows, I didn't like Miss Marvel. They didn't get the right actress for that. I don't think she was the right actress. She just didn't hit. I think her friends were all right, but she didn't hit for me. And the change of her powers, I guess, because they didn't have the whole Inhumans thing that they could put in there, and they tried to make her have these force field powers, kind of like armor from X-Men, and instead of stretchy powers, and stretchy powers are a little ridiculous, but anyway, that one wasn't so great, but the rest of them were good. The only things I don't like about a lot of Marvel TV shows is I don't think the endings are very good. The ending to Captain America and the Winter Soldier was pretty good. Um, I fell asleep 2 times in the ending of Loki, which my kids said it was so good, but I just kept falling asleep. And to me, that's evidence of something. But I like the rest of the show. What was it? Scarlet Witch and Vision. That was cool until the last 2 or 3 episodes, and they had what's her name, Harkness in there, and that just wasn't. She didn't hit for me. Agatha Harkness or whatever her name is. Hawkeye was tight. Hawkeye was tight. The only part that just didn't quite sit well with me is how Junior Hawkeye beat Kingpin like that and took blows from Kingpin that I think probably should have taken her down. But whatever, generally Hawkeye was tight. Moon Knight, second to last episode, was really good. And then the last episode with the Giants fighting, it just didn't really do it for me. And then She-Hulk started out kind of like I liked the premise, but the animation was terrible. But I ended up once I was like, this show's terrible, then I kind of liked it. Except for the last episode where she jumped out and talked to Kevin Feige and he was a robot. That was ridiculous. That didn't really hit for me. They had already set up a great plot. They should have just let it roll and given people what they wanted. Nah, and then they had to mess with this fourth wall stuff. So anyways, I just don't feel like I wasn't fully satisfied with Wakanda Forever. And I think it's mostly, I think Shuri's new costume was dope. I think the battle between her and Namor was dope. But yeah, I think it's just bad writing. I think the writing is just suffering, man. And they're just they just have parts in there and then they just don't pick anything up. And you're like, oh, Ross is married to that one woman who was at the end of Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And it just doesn't, you're like, why'd you even put that in there? And so the thing is that there's 2 levels to look at this whole thing on. Level 1 is Disney, it's story, it's Marvel, and it's the characters that you already know and all that stuff. But the level 2 is this is new spirit politics. This is mythology being played out. These are the communication of cultural symbols and the projection of cultural visions of future possibility, of fantasy possibility, of expansion of humanity possibility. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the higher level that things are operating on. And then there's the earth level, the transactional level and all that. And the thing is that if the earth level transactional level isn't done well, then the bridge to the higher energies doesn't really get built strongly. And then it doesn't move people enough to actually start to embody the myths, And it's like, they're tapping into something real. They're tapping into some powerful fields. Wakanda as a powerful morphogenic field, it's there. It's actually established, and it's something that Black people and African descendant people and really people all over the planet can feed and can receive from. The field is there, you know? It's just like, interestingly enough, in Shang-Chi, they went to Shangri-La, you know, it's like all the mythical cities, you know, they got Atlantis and they got versions of Atlantis. And all the mythical cities exist, man. They're all out there, or they live in that space between existence and non-existence, but they're accessible fields of accessible imaginal fields, clusters, you know, UFOs, cities, hovering motherships, however you want to see them, sunken cities, buried cities, cities underneath the earth, cities that descend from heaven, Zion, all of it. But they remain in imagination, and they wait to be actualized by living, breathing people. And if art is done with skill, then art helps build the bridge, and in some ways it is the bridge to those possibilities. And if art isn't done with skill, then people can see the possibility, but they don't, it's not strong enough to give them the it's not like, it's not concrete enough of a vision, and it doesn't pull on the feelings in it. And it's like it's building a bridge, but if it's badly built, there's holes, and then you fall through, and then you lose faith. But if it's a well-built bridge, you can walk on that bridge of faith, like that Indiana Jones flick where the thing was invisible. You can walk on that bridge straight up to these new cities of tomorrow. You know, I'm thinking of the thing that Sun Ra said. He said, skill culture is the weapon of the future. You know, and Sun Ra was an arch fabulist. He was a master of sound and color and theater and over the topness, you know. You're saying, like, Disney, that's Disney's whole realm that they play with, the whole Neptunian realm. Sun Ra was a master of that realm. But like, the thing is that he had in there that he emphasized to Black people, to Afrofuturists, to people trying to get free, people trying to get to the next, you know, planes. He emphasized discipline. You know, so he says skill of art is the weapon of the future. And in order for art to be skilled, you got to practice it over and over and over. And you got to become really disciplined by it. Disciplined by it. And it has to, and discipline to do it. And in the doing of it, you get to buy it. But I don't feel like that movie was skilled. And you know, I'm wondering, larger to, you know, first of all, I'm wondering if the Marvel movies are almost done. You know, it's like astrologically, Neptune is in Pisces right now, in the tropical calculation, miscalculation, illusion, effect. Anyways, Neptune appears to be very powerful these days. And not just these days, but really for the last many years. And I feel like Marvel's peak of popularity kind of hit with the peak of the Neptune cycle. And so suddenly superheroes that were somewhat marginal, they were definitely marginal when I was growing up. You know, early 2000s, the X-Men came out, kind of brought the X-Men there, which they didn't really do it for the most part too. They hadn't worked the formula out. And then when Marvel first came out, they had the formula worked out, and they outshone DC by 100 times. And I feel like Marvel peaked right when kind of the peak of the Neptune and Pisces cycle. And now that energy cycle is closing, and this whole wave of fantasy projection has come, you know, from the subconscious dream into the conscious, you know, fantasy artistic creation making space. Now that it's done that, it's like almost like that wave is done. And now they're making stuff. And again, the shows are good. And the writing generally in the shows I think is good, except till the end. But it's just starting to feel like, man, maybe that wave is done. I said to myself after Marvel movies, I would no longer be involved in popular culture. And now I'm starting to be like, yeah, I think I need to go back to the not being involved really. And, yeah, and all that kind of leads me to be like, okay, it makes me feel like it's on us. It's on us now. Like, it's on us to be the creators of culture. You know, it's on us to like keep the fire of real culture alive, the fire of, you know, disciplined humanity, you know, humanity that has a goal, that has practices, that tries to bring forth beauty, intelligence, skill, power, refinement, courage, compassion, empathy, wisdom. You know, it seems like it's on us. You know, it's like nobody out there is gonna create it for us. You know, everybody has to be part of co-creating it. Everybody has to take on the disciplines of culture, whatever it is you do. Whatever it is you do, you got to keep doing it, and you got to get better and better at it. You know, and it also seems to me it's almost like, wait, there's no shortcut to excellence. There's no shortcut to really producing works of beauty and vision. You have to just you got to do it over and over and practice it over and over. And it's like you can have the vision, you know. In fact, yeah, you can have the vision, but in order to convey the vision and to have the vision be something that can carry people and uplift people and inspire people with faith to do impossible stuff, there's no, in other words, there's no shortcut to superhumanity except through humanity. That's what I'm finding. You know what I'm saying? Like even Sun Ra at a certain point, he had to admit, you know, he had the sublime vision and he had the methodology, but you know, he said we still were gonna die. You know, we're still unfree in that way. And, you know, so we still have to like, ooh, we gotta learn. We gotta learn. And sometimes the learning can come with ease and joy. And that's a lot of the new teachings that people are trying to put out there is that the learning can come with ease and joy. And that's real too. But even joy is a discipline, even to keep your mind upraised in a certain way and your heart open and to constantly be noticing the minutia of beauty around us and to let that inspire and soften us. Even that's a discipline, you know. Even searching for the ease and not getting all tensed up, that's a discipline. It takes an inner relaxation and a constant inner remembering. So there's no shortcut to the Afro future, to the ethno future, to the ancient future, to the ancestral future, to the future that can combine magic and science. You know, there's no shortcut. You know, there's no shortcut to the future where the heart and compassion and Jah love is like the ruler. We gotta kind of keep working as human beings to get there. And we gotta try to keep producing skill culture and trying to break up the stagnant mindset and of this society and the blinders of vision and the cruelty and the inertial habits and the hopelessness, and show people the possibility through culture actually of a new civilization. Right? Because when you think about these cities right? These cities like Wakanda, these cities like the Atlan, Atlantis. Um, these are images of the next level of civilization, right? Entered through our specific ethnic, historical, mythological cultures, entering into this level of civilization that is actually, because of its vastness, because you can make things levitate, you know, this is a planetary civilization, right? Shambhala, Atlantis, Wagadu, Wakanda, um, what I'm saying, Shangri-La, you know, Asgard. They're all like these projections of that next level of civilization, where we can be wearing dope armor space clothes. You push buttons and it opens up and projects holograms, and it's part liquid, it's part plants, it's part mycelia, it's part uh, crustacean shell, it might even exude out certain parts of your skin, cover you up, and then go, like all that stuff. Like that's the next level that we're going to, floating, crystalline, sound gathering, you know, glowing, force blaster, force fields, all that joint, you know. But it's like right now, the way the civilization is moving is it's moving with all this power, but it's not moving with any real deep culture. It's not moving with a culture that has energy that comes up from the earth and energy that comes down from the stars. All this gray grid and a lot of greediness, you know. And so there's no real cultures that are piloting the civilization and using the technology and the tools and the expansiveness of civilization in a cultured manner. And because there's no cultural vision, we don't really know what to do with the civilization. You're just building these bigger and bigger tools, or maybe tools that penetrate more in the matter, but for what? It doesn't really create anything that's beautiful, that's lasting, that's inspired. So it seems like we have to, as people who are striving to be cultured, we got to become very skilled with culture so we can guide civilization. Another thing I want to kind of throw out there, now I'm riffing hard off of these movies, um, is that culture, sometimes civilization is the enemy of culture, and sometimes culture is the enemy of civilization, right? Like, if we get so proud in our refinements of culture and our particularities, if we get so like, I'm into African culture, I'm into Norse culture, I'm into Miztec culture, I'm into, Chinese culture, Japanese culture. If we think we're so much doper than one another, and that our cultures are the only ones that have created an exalted way to be human, that stands in the way of civilization. And civilization, as I've been learning recently, is supposed to be a planetary process. It's a geologic process, actually. It's an eco-geologic process where the earth is becoming more of an integrated entity that is exchanging chemicals and gases and electrical frequencies and energy around itself. And that geologic process is supposed to be, it is initiated by humanity. It's in some sense steered by humanity, and it's supposed to be a way to integrate the whole of humanity. It's almost like it's like the rock structure on a coral reef or something. I don't know the science, but there's like calcified stuff that the coral keeps growing on, and those used to be old layers of life. They used to be living, and then they become this calcified base for new layers. And in a way, I feel like that's what civilization is. Okay. So if we get too proud, we try to stop the integration that the earth is actually trying to do and bring us all into a space where we are transacting with each other. Okay. But civilization does a lot of things. It saves labor, it doubles energy. You know what I'm saying? It like we have these devices that can do the work that 1,000 people used to do, and then it would kill all 1,000 of them. And then we can make this machine go over and over. Okay. Now, there's a question about whether or not the machine going over and over is killing the earth and how much of that we can do. But if we had a culture that really had a taproot in the earth and was listening to the cosmos and had a waking heart mind and was socially circulating, you know, and passed that down multi-generationally, then we would have the, I think we would have the restraint and the wisdom to know how to use those technologies appropriately and how many of them we even need to create the optimal situation of energy saving and circulation distribution on Earth. Now, I'm not making all this stuff up. This is Buckminster Fuller, this is Sunrise, this is Daniel Yard. You know, this is a lot, this is Teilhard de Chardin. There's a lot of the visionaries of the last many generations that have foreseen these kind of things. I tried to explain it and bring it to the consciousness of the public. So sometimes in our pride and our ethnocentrism, we can block the process of civilization, which is trying to planetize and integrate all of us. And on the other hand, civilization's labor-saving tools and technologies and devices can get so good that they make life so easy for people, and they also keep you so secluded from the larger earth, and sometimes in our case so secluded from other people that you don't get that real quality of livingness that actually inspires us to be cultured beings. And so then civilization can make life too easy, and then that makes us not have to struggle, be disciplined, and create that level of excellence that is what makes human beings like, you know, that starts to put us towards the superhuman. So sometimes civilization and culture can be enemies of one another and block one another instead of recognizing, you know, it's like you got two magnets facing each other instead of having one facing this way and then they stick and then they go. You know what I mean? Culture is supposed to guide civilization, and civilization is supposed to expand the possibilities of culture and bring cultures from all over the world into contact with one another. That way, these various different teachings of human refinement can actually be spread, synthesized, and in their crossings create new possibilities or new like sets of teaching or what have you. Yeah. So, you know, movies, right? Movies are an art form that is an art form, I think, of civilization more so than it is of culture. And of course, it takes culture to make a good movie, but movies are sending these dreams, these visions to people all over the planet. And they're part of that process of creating some type of basic transactional unity between people and some kind of shared aspiration. So that seems to be the work of civilization in some ways. And then culture is supposed to take that and then look at you as an individual, us as individuals, us as small groups, and how can this person be the best they can be? How can they most embody these collective myths? How can they bring those myths forward through their actual livingness and through their inspired example? And I feel like Disney has gotten so good at projecting, or is so rich and can project these just fantasies all over the world. And they are drawing from different cultural mythologies for their fantasies now. And that's good. That's a beautiful thing. That's a needed thing right now. You know, because the white cultural mythology is just slathered all over the world and it's actually running out of juice. And that's why so many white people say they feel that they don't have culture anymore. So we need these other cultural mythologies to keep enlivening civilization. But it's like this civilization, this giant kind of projective capacity of Disney and of Hollywood and of the movie industry is kind of just getting burnt out of culture. And then you have some capitalism in there, some constant deals and some money and some paying everybody and cutting costs and cutting corners. And then the art just suffers, it's just starting to suffer. And so the thing that that movie was supposed to do, which is help build psychic and spiritual bridges between the between brown futures and black futures, okay, to like build on the kind of the global south, Wakanda, hovering crystal cities vision to culture us so that we can enter into and create this new level of civilization. It was so empty of rich cultural dimensionality. It was so plot and structure based, and just get the story out there that it didn't really accomplish the job to me. Anyway, again, leads us back to, I guess it's up to us. I guess it's up to us in each of our small lives and in our groups, and in our practices and our arts and our prayers, our devotions, our service, our making of justice, our envisioning better things for our communities, our envisioning better things for our children, our envisioning better things, you know, and fulfillment of the work of the ancestors. This is up to us to make those Wakandas and those Atlans real. Okay, I think that's all I got. Ready? All right.